Hello. This is Tom from Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures. Today, I want to talk about things you should know about renting an apartment. These are some tips and some ideas that I want to run with you guys and let you guys know that if you guys are coming to the Philippines, you want to rent an apartment. Here's some things that I actually thought about today, and I actually want to give you guys some tips, maybe some things you need to look at before you rent an apartment here. Now, this can go before renting a house or it can go to an apartment. So here's some ideas. When you find an apartment, sometimes you'll find an American may own, American and Filipina, or you will have a Filipino that own these apartments. And depending on where you go, you're going to find that a Filipino will actually want cash. If you're dealing with an American, he may want you to predate some checks or do something like that. But mainly you'll find that it's a cash business here in the Philippines, and anything you want to rent. Now, normally when they rent an apartment, it's usually the month that you're in, the month that you're going to stay there, whatever date that is. You guys work that out together. And then some type of security deposit in case you guys do it. It's really just a 30-day in, 30-day out type situation. So, for example, when we rented a house, we had to pay the first month and the last month, and there was a security deposit. Some will just say just pay the first month deposit and some type of security. And usually it's another month's rent. So it could be whatever you're paying the rent is, $5,000 and then $5,000 deposit for repairs. So to make sure it's done right. A couple of things you need to think about when you're actually looking for an apartment. Here's some pointers. When you walk into the apartment, you're touring the apartment. A really good thing you need to look at is when you walk in the door, find out what type of security they have. If they have a guard there, if they don't have a guard. Your front door and back door access. Look at the doors to make sure there's nobody's been broken into the doors and things like that. If he's actually fixed it and taken care of that. Another thing you need to think about is really important. Believe it or not, you're going to laugh at this. The sun. Is the sun are you facing the sun in the morning or the sun in the afternoon? Are you facing both times? Sometimes what I mean by that is you have a front door facing east and front door east, and then in the west when the sun sets, it's setting in the back, so you're right in the center. We first started coming here to the Philippines, we learned that because it gets hot. So we position our house, really not east-west, we position north and south. So what happens is east here, and then front door, back door this way. So we actually have, we have pretty good temperatures here. It's not really, we're not beating in the front door sun or our back door sun. So it depends if it has one access in, one access out. Another thing you got to look at and think about too is turn on the water. Find out if the water works. You're going to find out sometimes in the Philippines you may not have water early in the morning. You may not have water early in the evenings. Find out if the water works. Turn it on. Check it out. Find out what the pressure is. It could be a drip, 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 or like boom, blowing you away. So make sure when you do that, make sure you check the water pressure. Make sure the water pressure is good. A lot of places will have a water tank on top of the apartment complex or house or whatever that you have, and it'll just produce it in really fast. Some do not even have that. Some just tap, 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 tap in the lines. Two things you need to think about though when you're in an apartment. When you're looking at the apartment, check the water pressure. Make sure you're positioned right in the sun, right? And another thing you need to find out is, okay, now is my water all together in all the apartments, or I have a separate bill? Is my electric all together on one bill, or is it a separate meter? So this apartment has a separate meter. Sir, if you don't mind, could I see the meter for this apartment? So, and the reason I'm saying that is most places do not have a meter exactly for that house or apartment or place you're going to stay. They have one meter for all, and they just divvy it up. All right, the bad thing about that is what? What if the guy's in the air con and leaves it on all the time? Well, you got another American over there or whatever. So you're paying part of his bill. Because somebody somewhere along the line is going to get cheated. And will it be you? I don't know. So think about the water pressure. Make sure that your water. Now we ran into that with the water. And you got to be careful because they'll tap into your lines. So the water line can easily be tapped into, and your electric can easily be tapped into. So you can be paying for 2 houses, 3 houses, and don't know it. Has that happened? Yes. Does it happen? Yes. Has it happened to me? Yes. So what you do is you have to make sure when you come to the Philippines, you're looking for an apartment or a house, make sure the electric's tapped in one one only, and make sure you only have your own meter and you have your own water source. It's very important. And make sure your water is on. Not a drip, drip, drip at 6 in the morning, 6 at night. Because you may not be able to take a shower till whenever, 3 in the morning. We've had a problem with water. Believe it or not, water can be a problem depending on where you're at. Some places say, oh man, I don't have a problem with water. Okay. How about brownouts? You have a problem with brownouts. So something to think about. You ask them, you have brownouts? Oh yeah, we have brownouts. They may not tell you the truth. So ask a neighbor, ask someone. And I'm telling you these things is because you're going to get in an apartment, you're going to find out, or a house, you're going to find out, man, I wish I asked that question before I got here. Before I gave him 6 months lease. So that's the thing. Maybe you want to stay. The key is find your place, rent it for 30 days. If you cannot find one in 30 days, rent it for 3 months or whatever. But be careful not giving him a large sum of money. Because here in the Philippines, they necessarily don't give you the money back immediately. So say, for instance, you give him first and last, or maybe he says, I want the first and last and the security. So first, last, security, it should say 15,000 peso, and you have, your rent is 5,000 pesos. So he has additional 10,000 peso. So when you decide to leave, well, okay, I'm ready to go. Well, you know, you're going early, so you're not going to get this back, you're not going to get that back. So what you have to do is make a decision on how the best way to handle that situation. Most you'll find will work with you. Not everybody's going to say, okay, Tom, you need to pay me this, this, this. But most of the time they'll work with you because tell you the reason why. Foreigners are consistent. They will pay their bill. I say most foreigners are consistent. The ones that are legitimate coming over here and have a Filipino, they're going to be consistent because they got a wife, they got children. They're going to make sure that bill is paid. If me, I'm paying it ahead of time. There's many times on the last week on the 25th of the month, I'm paying my first month's rent there. And I do the same. I've done that all my life. That's who I am, though. So if you think about it, you can just do that. Now, like I said, so the water source on the roof, find out if it's hot water, also find out if there's hot water pressure, make sure your electricity is not tied into. I'm going fast, sorry. A lot of information to do within 15 minutes here, guys. So, yeah, be careful about putting money in someone's hands. So a 6-month lease is probably not a good idea. Sometimes it's a have-to situation, you have to do it. Make that call on yourself. I know for me, that's what we did. The first time we rented a house. It's not a really good place. My wife did that. I was in USA. She needed a place, so we rented this place, and it was a beautiful place, but it was ended up the septic was backed up on it, and he didn't want to fix it. An American owned it. So sometimes they say rent from Americans is always easier. Not always. Make sure when you're looking at a place, like I said, the water pressure, the electric. Make sure you're positioned in the sun, left and right. Separate meters. Front and back door, make sure you know where the front and back door is. Make sure you know where north, south, east, and west is. Because a lot of times, if you don't have it, you find an app on your phone and just put in compass and you can figure it out yourself. Of course, watch the sun in the morning, give you a good idea on where the east is. And if the east this way, west is going to be that way. You know, or if the east is this way, it's going to be this way, right behind you. So whatever you're facing, it's going to be right behind you. So give you an idea on what the best thing to do. So renting here is a great thing. Renting here for sure, especially when you first come here, because you may not know where you want to go. I've already did that video, right? But I didn't ever give you all the points and things to look at. And these are very important points because if you just miss one of these points, you're going to say, oh man, I wish I listened to Tom. Because north, south, east, west, sun position, water pressure, make sure the meters have its own meters, make sure the water has its own water, and make sure that nobody's tapped into your line of electric, because sometimes you end up paying for 2 or 3 people's electric. It's happened. And sometimes you end up paying for 2 or 3 people's water, and it's happened. Even the owner of our complex was an attorney. Someone tapped into the line. Not us, not mine, but tapped into the line that everybody was paying for. So it was furnishing 2 or 3 houses down here, and nobody knew it. So not only was it furnishing all his 6 or 8 or 10 apartments that he had, beautiful apartments, but it was furnishing water down there too that we paid for. And the same thing on electric. And it doesn't take very much for someone to tap into your electric. For here we have a digital meter and the net meter, and it's going to be, you cannot tap into ours. But you can on some of the other ones with the spinner dials and things like that. Very easy someone to do. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Please subscribe and like.